Hello and welcome, I'm Oles Garjuk and you're watching Head to Head with UATV. Judicial reform in Ukraine is moving forward. 39 judges were chosen for the Supreme Anti-Corruption Court. This is the result of a long competition out of more than 300 applicants. When can we expect the Ukrainian president to sign their appointments? Let's address this question to Sergii Koziakov, chairman of the High Qualification Commission of Judges of Ukraine and chairman of the Chamber for Selection and Public Service of Judges. Hello and thank you for joining us today.
Hello.
So, Mr. Koziakov, who is among the winners?
There are many judges, certainly acting judges, there are practicing lawyers or advocates, and also there are academicians, professors at law from Ukrainian universities.
Mm-hmm. So there are some quotas among these 39 places that was distributed for all the anti-corruption court, right?
The High Anti-Corruption Court does not prohibit us to have quota or permits us to have quota, as for example in Portugal. In Portugal there are 10% quota for not judges. Here we do not have quota, but in accordance to our law, 3 law representatives of 3 law professions can take part in the competition.
So these are judges, lawyers, and scientists.
And scientists, or academicians, better. Yeah.
Great. Almost half of them have never worked as judges before. This we know from media, and this is seen by experts as a positive, as they have never been part of the corrupt legal system. But what about the other half?
I would like to stress that we had maybe the most difficult procedure to select judges here in this competition, and we had, for example, the interview with all of them, which has been streamed to YouTube, by the way, and any citizen of Ukraine or any inhabitant of our planet can look it even now. And we asked a lot of questions. They passed testing, and they wrote the example or draft of the decision of the court. We provided for them the psychological testing, and they had also the interview with on-common session of public counsel, international experts, as well as members of the commission.
So international experts were also involved in the selection process.
Yes.
Okay, let's discuss this later. You said that they have undergone this really complex and complicated examination. Were they examined also on a subject of morality and integrity?
We had the psychological testing. By the way, there are 4 psychological tests. It is more than in any other country in the world. By the way, only 4 countries in Europe provide such testing.
Wow.
Hungary, Netherlands, Austria, and France only starts to do it. But we provide the most substantial psychological testing. Only one of them is more than 500 questions.
Wow, this is a lot.
I passed myself all this psychological testing, and really we can see a lot of interesting things about candidates, including some aspects, or very serious aspects of integrity of the candidate, and we used them during the final interview with them.
So the morale aspect was evaluated also. But were these 4 countries that you mentioned, France, the Netherlands, were they assisting Ukraine in implementing the psychological tests, or did our specialists develop them ourselves?
A lot of foreign institutions as well as donors assisted us. For example, several international intergovernmental organizations who has agreements with Ukraine on the fighting with corruption provided us with candidates for the Public Council of International Experts. They gave us 12 candidates, and we selected 6 of them. By the way, 6 members of Public Council of International Experts arrived to us from 5 countries.
From 5 countries?
5 countries. 2 from Great Britain, 1 from Northern Macedonia, Denmark, Lithuania, as well as Canada. And I can say that foreign donors from the United States of America, European Union, Council of Europe, OECD, and Canada, and other donors assisted us during the competition. They assisted us to, for example, to create tests or practicing tasks, or they monitored us, and so on and so on. It was really a huge technical assistance.
This is very interesting. And another interesting thing is that fact that Ukraine became the first country to invite international experts to this selection process, right? So speaking of those who won, of those candidates, did the opinions and assessments of the Ukrainian jury and the foreigners match?
Usually we had the common understanding. We had certainly serious discussions in camera about candidates, but we as a commission provided our foreign colleagues by all information which we had. 100%.
Sure, you had the same information.
Yes, including, for example, analytical reports of the National Anti-Corruption Bureau. It was extremely important to read the information about assets, money, foreign trips, and so on about candidates.
So the National Anti-Corruption Bureau has investigated the background and the assets of everyone who was participating.
And it was our initiative of our commission 3 years ago to sign the memorandum with National Anti-Corruption Bureau, and we was the first Ukrainian state body who started to cooperate with National Anti-Corruption Bureau on these matters.
Speaking of this cooperation, I do know that the maximum publicity of all the procedures was among the main requirements for implementing every stage of this selection process. So could you please tell us what does this publicity mean in the case of selecting the judges?
With the great pleasure, I can say that we are recordsmen in the world. It is a unique example in the world of such publicity during the selection process. For example, testing and writing the practical task of exam has been streamed to YouTube. And
so everyone could watch?
Yes, we also invited international observers and journalists for this. Then I told you that all our plenary meetings have been streamed to YouTube. Our interviews with candidates also have been streamed to YouTube. Everything was absolutely open, and every person could look.
And how long did this selection last for? How long was this procedure?
We announced in July.
In July, so basically it took a little more than half a year to complete the process, and there were more than 300 applicants, 300 people who were willing to work in anti-corruption.
It was really our plan, and we understood that it will last not less than 6 months.
Well, and now into the feedback from the authors of the bill on anti-corruption court. I would like to refer now to Georgy Vashadze, the founder of the Innovation and Development Fund. He emphasized on the uniqueness of the mechanism for the selection of judges, and I wanted to ask, what is this uniqueness about? So I'm assuming you mentioned that the publicity was unique. So is this the main feature of Ukrainian unique procedure?
And it's not only publicity. I would like to stress that we use psychological testing. Then we used. It is the only one example in the world when foreign experts were the part of administrative procedure, and they had practically the same rights during this process.
You mean that they had decisive rights and not just recommendative?
Absolutely decisive rights. For example, they were six. But if three of them voted against the candidate, or said no, this candidate did not pass in this competition.
And how many Ukrainians were there among the judges? 6 foreigners and
16 members of the commission. 10 of them are retired judges or acting judges, and 6 of them are advocates or academicians. I am an advocate in my former life, and also a professor at the university.
So after the selection process, we have 39 winners, and what happens now?
And now we already, the same day in the evening, when we announced the results of the competition, we sent documents and our recommendations to the High Council of Judiciary. Now they started to look through these documents. They will also will have the short interview with the candidate, or may not. It's up to their decision, and they will make the final decision. They also can stop any candidate, but I hope they will not stop, and then they will say send their decisions on every candidate, separate decision, to the administration of the president, and the president will sign the decree for appointment.
Okay, so and the whole procedure then will complete. So could you foresee when this anti-corruption court might start functioning?
In my understanding, this president will try to sign, or will sign, these decrees not later than on the 28th of March. It is the day of the voting on the first stage of
the first round of presidential election.
I can explain why, because it was his initiative to send to the parliament the draft of the law on anti-corruption court, and certainly it is in my understanding it is his aim to finish this process.
He wants to finalize before before the election. I understand this. I'm interested in your opinion, how would this establishment of anti-corruption court, we had a lot of drama around it, a lot of controversy, a lot of scandal, a lot of requests from Europe. How would it change Ukraine's international policy and maybe international climate around Ukraine's situation?
It's quite interesting that maybe there were a lot of scandals before we started the selection procedure, but now during the procedure
there were no scandals.
But it's quite interesting. It's quite important. I can say that it is the obligation in accordance to the memorandum with International Monetary Fund. Number one. The second, it is a part of our cooperation of obligations before Europe. Yes. The association with the European Union. It is an obligation before foreign and domestic investors. It is an obligation before citizens of Ukraine who are waiting for the avoiding of corruption in all aspects of state or social life.
Yeah, and of governance, of course. So basically, we can expect that this will increase trust to Ukraine as a reliable and sustainable partner, also globally, internationally. I mean,
it was really our real and serious aim during the providing of this competition.
And when the president, we expect that the president is going to sign the appointments in the end of March. Hopefully, this is what is going to happen. So when the court will actually start functioning? Because I do remember that one of the obligations before the IMF standby arrangement was to start the court somewhere in the middle of June.
I am almost sure that it will be. After the signing of the by President his decrees, winners or future judges will have very intensive training for 3 weeks. This training will be provided by the National School of Judges with participation of the best foreign experts. Then it's need for judges to make the first meeting, plenary meeting, to select the chairman, then to appoint the assistant secretaries, all organizational matters, and then they will start to get files.
Is there some formal procedure that they have some certain amount of time to form and establish the court? I mean, the team.
Yes, it's a team building, usual team building when some new institution appears in the society on the state level, and that is what I'm sure that it will be quite quickly.
Well, let's see what results will we have after the review by the Supreme Council of Justice, and let's see what happens before the presidential elections. But so far, thank you so much for your interesting comments and valuable information that you shared with us, and also thank you for being a guest today in our studio.
Thank you.
That was Sergii Koziakov, chairman of the High Qualification Commission of Judges of Ukraine and chairman of the Chamber for Selection and Public Service of Judges. Thank you for watching Head to Head. I'm Oleg Sergii. Goodbye.